Okay, so now that we've got a few pieces in our world, let's add a player in to be able to actually do some stuff here. So we're going to go back to our art file, and if you don't have it open, we'll pop open the little arrow to the side, and we're going to grab, we're going to use this blue guy. There's a few different colors of the same character down along here, but we're going to use the blue guy here. So we'll just take the first sprite of him, and we're going to use this as our default kind of character sprite for us to be able to see the character within the world. So all we do, as I just did, you just drag it into the world here, and it creates in our hierarchy. But we don't want it to be called Sprites19. That's a kind of strange name for a character, so we're just going to rename this just to be player. So obviously our player here, he hasn't got a lot going on with him just yet. So if we were to start playing our game, for example, all we get is we've got our player. He's not doing anything. He's not interacting with our world at all, obviously. We can't get any movement on him. But this is an example here of, this is the kind of control buttons of the game. So we've got a little play button to start the game running. We can pause the game at any point when it's running, and it'll take us back to our scene view, and we can kind of make some changes. And that's kind of the main things we want to use. We don't really need to be too concerned with this button at the moment at all, really. So for now, we need to kind of give our player some things to do. So much like last time we added a box collider to these objects to make them something solid, we need to add the same thing to our player so that he will interact with these things. At the moment, if he was to go into one of them, actually if we just hit play here, we should see that at the moment, if we were to move him using the scene view here, he'll just be kind of hovering over the ground, and that's not really much use to us at all. Okay, so what we need to do is go to add component, and again we're going to add a box collider 2D, but as you can see, that makes quite a large box around the player like that. So we're going to adjust his size on the x-axis, so we're going to shrink this down, and we're actually going to go to exactly 0.5 like that. And now we have a box around our player. So now he'll actually be able to interact with these grounds here. But at the moment we just have two boxes, and it doesn't really know what to do with them. They're kind of just two pieces that are used. Once, if we were to start writing some scripts and stuff, we could make them understand how to interact with each other. But rather than having to go and create a whole bunch of code and scripts ourselves, Unity has a built-in physics system that we're going to take advantage of and use in the game here. And the way we do that is go to add component again, and we'll get rid of box in the search box up here, and we're going to start typing in rigid body, and what we want is rigid body 2D. So a rigid body 2D basically controls the object in our world. And to be honest, before we're going to make some changes to it here, but if I just move him up to here, and if we start playing our game from here, we'll actually start seeing some effects happening. So the player, as you can see, he dropped down to the ground there. We can pick him up and he'll drop him and stuff like that. If we were to put him on the exact corner, he'll drop and spin off into the world, which is not something we want either. So we're going to fix up that. So what we'll do is just go to on our rigid body 2D here, we'll go down to constraints, and we're going to hit freeze rotation. So now if we hit play this time, if we go back over to here, if we drop him just on the corner like that, now he'll just stand on the edge, which is kind of something you would more normally see in a platformer game like this anyway. So that's perfect. We've got some other things here on the rigid body. Now, we're going to see an example here now of how if you make changes to something when the game is running, it won't actually make any effect on the game here. So what I'm going to do is, just an example, if I hit him up to here and let him fall, you can see how fast he falls. But if we change gravity scale here to say 5, we drag him up, he falls much faster. If we're to set it to 100, he falls way faster. So we're going to put this back down to 1 for the moment. But if we put it at say 0.5, then he will slowly, much more slowly fall to the ground. But we've made a couple of little changes to the gravity there. But if we were to stop our game by hitting our play button again, our gravity scale will go back to 1, which was the value that I had when we started playing the game. So it's important to remember that if you make any changes in the inspector when your game is running, they won't actually apply to your game, which is an important thing to remember if it's something that you change in the future. And then you have to always remember that when you stop the game, you need to make the same changes back into the world again. But that's the basis of adding some physics to our player. So now he's able to actually interact with our world a little bit. So we need to give him some movement so he can actually do some more interesting things.